Hey guys, it's Core Ross, and I've been 3D printing with resin now for just over a year. And I previously did a video going over my first 6 months of resin 3D printing. And in that video, I had no advice to actually hand out because, of course, I had just started and I was going over what my experience was like. But now, with more than a year of experience, I actually do have a bunch of advice to give that I wish I knew when I started. And I think this will be hopefully somewhat helpful to you. And I'm going to start this video by saying that I'm not going to mention any brands or companies at all in this video from start to finish. So no mention of 3D printer makers, no mention of resin makers or anything like that. And the reason is that every company changes over time. There might be a standout company right now that makes really good stuff, but who knows, next year they might release a really bad 3D printer or something like that. And I also think that actually the software sometimes is the biggest problem when it comes to 3D printers. And I heard a piece of advice early on, which was if you're thinking of buying a 3D printer, go and actually download their software first, and then take an entire project to the point of where you would send it to the printer to print and see how that process is. Because certainly there is easier and harder ones to work with, and there's also ones that have better advanced software. There's also ones that hide their advanced software behind paywalls and subscriptions. So if I had to give a piece of advice on actually picking a brand to go with, watch plenty of videos and download their software, test it out first and see if it actually works well for you. And that now leads us into my first piece of advice, and that is that for most people, they go out and they buy an entry level resin printer. So usually quite small. And it's the size that is the issue for me here, because I actually recommend you go out and buy a medium size printer as your first printer. And there's a really good reason for this. So when I first got a printer, it was pretty small. And I used it, of course, to print stuff like figurines. And that's what I'd seen other people print, lots of small, really detailed and intricate stuff. And that's kind of was my entire vision of what a resin 3D printer was. It wasn't until over the 6 month mark when I got a bigger resin printer, and it was eye-opening because suddenly I was actually making really cool projects on it, because I would make these really cool, intricate, detailed projects on my PLA printer. There were lots of parts you put together, and I've made videos about them, and they look great. But they don't have the detail, of course, of resin printers. But the smaller printer couldn't do them. As soon as I had a medium size one, I was like, oh, I can actually do these prints. And then I had these incredible stuff that you can see on screen now that I am so proud to have made. And they look like they're made by a professional, whereas they are just downloaded off the internet. People make great models, and then I resin print them, and they look sensational. And I make these just for myself to look at because I think they're absolutely gorgeous. And I'm also making stuff that I consider to be well out of my skill range when it comes to the quality of them. But there's also another big factor here, and that's the mess. So if you, of course, are printing, let's say, a project, and it's going to take 4 prints to print it on the smaller printer, and that's if all the parts actually fit, then that's 4 times you've got to do some cleaning up to get those parts off and then start printing the next batch. Whereas with a bigger printer, you are doing all of that print in one go. And the thing that's actually mind-blowing about it is the time you also save as well, not just with the cleaning, because a resin printer will expose an entire layer in one go. It's not like an MDF printer where it's going round and round over and over until it draws the entire thing out. The UV light goes on, cures the entire layer, and then moves on to the next. This means if I do a project on the bigger printer that would have taken 4 prints on the smaller one, then it's going to take the same time as just one of the print times from the smaller printer. That means I'm saving a huge amount of time printing. So the takeaways for a bigger printer is that you're going to do more interesting projects. That's exactly what happened to me, and I think that will happen to you. You're also going to be able to do your projects faster, and you're going to have less cleaning to do, which is a major, major advantage with resin printing. And that actually leads us into our next subject, which is safety. And this will be a relatively short part of the video, but I'm going to hopefully explain a few things here that other people haven't said before, because I've watched many YouTube videos, of course, of learning resin printing, and they do mention the safety elements, but they miss out on some major stuff. So for instance, I've seen a big content creator at one point get resin on their hand, and they were like, oh, all I have to do is put it out into the sun, cures it, it's gone, it's fine, and I'm now clean. That is not the case. So resin is a little bit like lead, as in if you touch lead, the bare metal, it will just start to soak into your skin, and the dangerous stuff that is in there soaks into your skin, goes to your brain, does very bad stuff to the point of where you'll now be dumber 10 years later. And resin's quite similar, where it doesn't appear to soak into your skin, and it doesn't hurt, it doesn't burn, it doesn't do anything you would consider to be normal for something that is toxic. However, as soon as that resin touches your skin, the bad stuff that is in it goes straight into your body, and it is very hard for your body to deal with, just like how lead is. And another similarity to lead is that it does damage over time, so that 10, 20 years later, something might happen to your body because of the resin you were using decades ago. And the problem is we don't know what that damage is actually going to be until we get there. So us using resin printers are going to find that out in a couple of decades time. So that means you want to be as safe as you possibly can. But not only that, you have to watch out for two other bad stuff. So the other one is toxic gas that the resin printing gives off. Now, a lot of people in my reviews for resins will talk about how does it smell. And I always worry that people think if it smells less, there's less fumes, there's less bad stuff in the air. And I also worry that eventually they're going to get to the point where they can make a resin that you basically can't smell. But the thing is, there's no correlation between the smell and the dangerous gas in the air. So don't take it smelling better as being safer. Always be in a super ventilated area, have fans circulating that air around, and of course, if you can, have ducts actually taking that bad gas straight outside. And then there's the other danger that I don't see people mention much at all when I go to different videos about resin printing, and that is the UV light that resin printers give out. Because you might think when you look at a resin printer, they always have this plastic top on them, and you might think that's to stop the resin from curing, and it's not. The reason they actually have those protective tops on top of them is to protect you from going blind, because the UV light that these printers put out is capable of actually blinding you in less than a second. So you never actually want to look at the UV light that is being produced by your printer while it's printing, because it can do extremely bad damage to your eyes very, very fast. This is also the case for curing stations and really powerful UV torches. And even if you buy a relatively low powered UV torch just for doing a little bit of curing here and there, do remember that the more you're exposed to that UV light, the more damage you could be doing. And also remember to extend this safety out to other people. So easily kids can be exposed to the resin, the fumes, and the UV lights. So you really want to make sure when you're not using it or when kids are around that it is very hard for them to get in access range to any of those elements. And then also, if you're thinking to get into resin printing, do remember that it costs a lot of money to maintain the safety, regularly changing filters, regularly changing gloves. There is a lot of cleaning involved, and it is going to actually cost you quite a chunk of money over the long term. So take that into consideration when you're budgeting for resin printing. But that leads us nicely into the cleaning and the mess of resin printing and my advice here. So my initial first times using a resin printer, I made so much mess. It was crazy how many paper towels and stuff I had around. And I've got to the point now where I have specific tubs and stuff for all the different parts and processes of the cleaning. And I've got it down to a nice fine art at this point where it's a lot easier to clean up. But do understand it's going to be a mess, and you do have to dispose of the liquids very carefully and very professionally. Especially, you don't want to dump this in your garden or something like that, and then it ends up in your groundwater and then ends up in your drinking water. You don't want to be drinking this stuff one day. But there's been a surprising thing that has helped me clean up, and that is actually something that originally I heard was bad, and that is water washable resins. So I've got into resin printing at quite a good time because it had matured quite a lot to the point of where the printers were becoming really good and the resins were also really good as well. However, there was one noticeable thing that was really bad, and that was water washable resins. They were considered brittle and not as good as the alcohol washable resins. However, I got introduced to some water washable resins just 6 months ago and I started using them, and I was amazed at how good they were. But not only that, they were less messy for me. Now, the reason they were less messy is that I've got isopropyl alcohol for cleaning the resin prints, which of course I've been using from the start. And I've gone through one tub that lasted me basically over 6 months. And then I had to buy another one, but I ended up exposing it to the sun by mistake. The resin that was in it cured, and it's a bit, harder to work with now than it was. And you have to basically clean it to still be able to use it. So I ended up buying another tub. The thing about water washable resin is, of course, you end up washing all your prints with water. And this is brilliant. Now, it does leave you with contaminated water, which you either have to get professionally taken care of, but there's a really nice, simple way to do it that works well for me so far. And that is that you simply evaporate it with the sun. So for my contaminated water, I went and just bought some really simple big jugs, put the contaminated water in, leave the cap either loose, or I've actually now 3D printed a special cap that I install a metal mesh on top so the air can get in and out, but nothing can get in to drink that water because of course that'd be bad. And then even in Scotland, as long as I can leave this in a place that's hot enough, it is going to evaporate over time. And then that means the water gets cleaned because it's just evaporating into the air. And then once it's gone, the resin that's in the bottle can just be cured. And then I can keep using that same bottle over and over again and just repeat the process. And this has been really good for getting this contaminated water cleaned up. But I will add, you're probably going to need something like a shed. So I live in a 1-bedroom flat, and luckily I do have a shared shed that no one else uses. So it's got a lawnmower in it, and I put the jugs of water in and they just evaporate over time. And that has been a really good system for me. So this is just a long way of saying that I think water washable resins have come along a long way. And for me, I'm actually switching entirely to printing with water washable resins. And the only alcohol based ones I'll continue to use is anything that's sent over for brands to test. Now let's talk about a feature you should be looking for depending on where you live in the world. So this is the feature that you either need or you don't need, and that is all about heat. So resin prints at a certain temperature and it prints really good at that temperature. Anything lower can cause issues with the print. And so far, every single print fail I have had when resin printing has been down to the temperature being too low. But again, I jumped into this hobby at kind of the perfect time where a lot of these kind of annoyances were being fixed by new features in the printers themselves. So a lot of them now have some sort of heating capability, whether it's just heating up the air so the heats up the resin, or they have heated vats. This is also why I recommend going for a bigger printer. The smaller ones have less features, they might be cheaper, but they usually don't have stuff like resin heaters, and as such the bigger printers do. And for me, this was a game changer. So the original printer I had did not have a heater, and I went about all different ways to try to heat the resin up to the right temperature and maintain it at the right temperature. When I got a printer that had the ability to heat its own resin, it was just so nice. And so far on that printer, I have yet to have a single fail. And that really is down to the fact that that printer could heat that resin up and maintain it at the right temperature throughout the entire print. And of course, for some of you watching out there, a heated vat is actually going to be pointless because you live in a climate where it's literally hot enough all year round. But for me, living in Scotland, this has been an absolute game changer of a feature, to the point of where I'd actually say it is the most important feature I would pick in a resin printer going forward. And thankfully, all the kind of medium-sized resin printers that are starting to come out now are coming with some sort of heating system, and that is making it far better and easier to get successful prints. And now we're leading into the end of this video and the most important fact of all when it comes to advice that I can give about resin printing. And I don't see people talk about this that often. And that is that, of course, resin prints look amazing. The detail is sensational. Even on a cheap resin printer, it'll look better than an FDM printer. And it's insane the quality difference you can get, along with the tolerances as well. Like if you want to prototype stuff, it's incredible how accurate it can all be. However, it's important to note that these prints have weaknesses. So for instance, they'll break like glass, either shattering or cracking like a piece of glass. But not just that, over time, they really sag. So for instance, I have a very simple bracket that I made that slots into the back of my cabinet and it holds a power strip. And this is the cheapest, lightest power strip you can get. And it has one plug plugged into it. And it's very convenient, and I originally designed it and printed it with PLA, and PLA was working really good, so the bracket was holding on fine. And when I originally printed it off, I could snap in the actual power socket and it looked amazing, it felt great, but over time it slightly loosened where you didn't get that snapping anymore. But it was still doing its job, it was still being functional. When I got a resin printer, I thought, you know what, it'd be really cool to actually print this in resin, and the resin's hard, so it'll hold its shape and it'll still work with that really nice snap-on, and it'll be really good. So I went ahead and I printed it off now in the resin printer, and I installed it. I kept, of course, the PLA one just in case it didn't work and I had to switch back. But I put that in a drawer and I went ahead and I used my new resin bracket. And just like the original PLA one, it snapped in originally. So I was like, this is really cool. And it feels incredibly solid. There's not much flex to it. However, over 3 months, it sagged, and it sagged worse than the PLA one. And the thing was, it was still functional, but it was continuing to get worse to the point of where I think it would have lost its functionality. So I switched it back out with the original PLA one. And this is the downside of resin. Even though that was cured perfectly and it looked and felt solid, resin is not this wonder material that is going to replace everything you're doing with PLA. And I've got to the point where I now do projects where I print like half of it in PLA, half of it in resin, and usually it's the stuff that I'm going to see is resin. The stuff that it may be internal is PLA, and the best of both worlds come together in that result to make something that is absolutely brilliant. And I'll also note that you can go out and actually get specific resins that are tougher. You can even get resins that are specifically flexible and stuff like that. But do remember those specific ones are more expensive. And if I was actually to buy a tougher resin version to actually do this with, the problem is I'm not going to know if it actually worked until like 3 months later. And then the other thing is I have one of these brackets. I do not need multiple. I'm not going to buy a bottle of resin just to do this one bracket or something like that. So although resin, I think, is advertised, especially by the companies selling resin printers, as being this incredible stuff to work with, it is not perfect in all the aspects, and different printing materials are going to be better at different things. Resin is really good for the details and for making stuff that looks beautiful, but not necessarily functional. However, I am going to add that working with it is really good. So for instance, sanding it is incredible. I actually ended up getting myself a Dremel to work on the resin with because it is so easy to sand. Sometimes too easy, as you can remove a lot of material very fast. But be noted, safety wise, don't breathe in any of the dust that is causing, because that's bad. So make sure you've got a proper good mask on. But for me, that is a major advantage over PLA, which is a pain to do any kind of sanding on. Whereas with resin, you can do incredible work. And I did have issues with like tolerances and putting stuff together that was originally designed for PLA printing with resin. And now that I have a Dremel and I can clean those bits up and just open up any holes I need to very easily, that's become less and less of an issue over time. And that now brings us to the conclusion of today's video, and I hope that some of the advice here is useful to you. Some of it is going to be stuff you've heard in plenty other videos before. Hopefully though, some of it is new that you've never heard before. For me, for instance, size, I did not understand how much of an impact that would have on what I printed. And then of course, the heated vat has been an absolute game changer in my climate. For you, might not be a consideration at all. But hopefully you've taken away something useful from this video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.